The night the city lost its power, something else quietly flickered on, not the streetlights, not the glowing signs or the humming machines, but something far rarer and far more fragile. It was the kind of night when fear settles into the bones, when people lock their doors tighter and look only after themselves. Sirens wailed in the distance, rain lashed the empty roads, and the darkness felt alive, breathing heavily over everything. In moments like these, you expect humanity to disappear, but what happened next would prove the opposite. This is not just a story meant to entertain you. This is proof that even in the darkest hours, something human still survives. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of doing the right thing when no one is watching, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to this channel. Stories like this exist because people like you still care. The man at the center of this story was named Daniel, though to the world he was invisible. He was not famous, not wealthy, not admired. He was one of those people you pass every day without noticing, the kind of man whose footsteps blend into the noise of the city. Once, long ago, he had dreams that filled his chest with fire. He wanted to build something meaningful, to leave a mark that proved he had lived. But life has a way of grinding dreams down into dust, one unpaid bill, one missed opportunity, one quiet disappointment at a time. By the time this night arrived, Daniel was tired in a way sleep could never fix. He worked late shifts, cleaning offices downtown, moving silently through glass buildings that reflected success he would never touch. Every night, he wiped fingerprints off desks where important decisions were made, decisions that shaped lives he would never meet. His hands were rough, his back ached constantly, and his mind was heavy with worries he could not escape. He lived alone in a small apartment with peeling paint and flickering lights, carrying grief he never spoke about, the loss of his mother, the distance from friends who had moved on, the constant fear of becoming completely forgotten. That night when the blackout hit, Daniel was on his way home. The train stopped, buses vanished, and phones became useless bricks in people's hands. The city, usually loud and confident, shrank into something uncertain and afraid. Rain soaked through his thin jacket as he walked, his breath visible in the cold air. With every step his thoughts grew darker. He wondered if this was all life would ever be, a long walk through the rain with no one waiting at the end. As he turned down a poorly lit street, he noticed something out of place, a faint shape near the curb, barely visible through the rain. At first, he assumed it was trash or a fallen sign, something the storm had torn loose. He almost kept walking, but something inside him hesitated, an instinct he had learned to ignore over the years. He took a few steps closer, squinting through the darkness, and that was when he saw the small movement that changed everything. A child was lying there, curled against the cold pavement, soaked and trembling. No screaming, no dramatic cries for help. Just silent suffering, the most dangerous kind. Daniel's heart pounded as he looked around. The street was empty. No cars, no pedestrians, no help in sight. For a moment, fear took hold of him. He thought about responsibility, about risk, about how easy it would be to pretend he saw nothing. The world had taught him that stepping in only brought trouble. But then he remembered his mother's hands, rough from years of work, gently guiding him when he was small. He remembered how she used to say that being human meant showing up when it was inconvenient. Those memories rose up like a quiet command. Daniel knelt down, ignoring the rain soaking his knees, and carefully gathered the child into his arms. The child was lighter than he expected, fragile, breathing shallowly with eyes half open and unfocused. Daniel had no plan. He had no money for emergencies, no car, no phone signal. All he had was his body and his choice. He wrapped his jacket tighter around the child and began walking toward the nearest hospital, miles away. Each step felt heavier than the last. The rain intensified, turning streets into rivers, soaking his clothes until they clung to him like ice. His muscles screamed in protest, and fear whispered that he would fail, that it was already too late. As he walked, he talked softly, not knowing if the child could hear him. He spoke about the city, about the morning sun, about small, ordinary things, trying to keep both of them anchored to the world. Time stretched unnaturally, each minute feeling like an hour. His arms burned, his legs trembled, and doubt gnawed at him relentlessly, but he did not stop. When he finally reached the hospital doors, he was shaking uncontrollably. The lights inside glowed like something sacred. Staff rushed toward him, taking the child from his arms and disappearing down bright hallways. Daniel stood there, dripping water onto the tile floor, his heart hammering wildly. No one asked his name. No one thanked him. In that moment, he did not care. All that mattered was that the child was alive, that the story had not ended on that dark street. Hours passed. The power flickered back on across the city, life slowly returning to normal. Daniel sat alone on a plastic chair, exhaustion pulling him toward sleep. When a doctor finally approached him, the words were simple but heavy with meaning. The child would survive, hypothermia, dehydration, abandonment, but alive. Those words hit Daniel harder than any compliment ever could. Something inside his chest cracked open, releasing a warmth he had not felt in years. He left the hospital just as dawn began to break. The rain had stopped, and the city looked different in the soft morning light, less cruel, more forgiving. Daniel walked home slowly, his clothes still damp, his body aching, but his heart strangely light. For the first time in a long while, he felt seen by the universe itself, even if no one else knew what he had done. Days passed, then weeks. Life returned to its routine. Daniel went back to cleaning offices, riding trains, living quietly. He assumed the night would fade into memory, another moment swallowed by time. But stories have a way of traveling, even when you don't expect them to. Someone at the hospital remembered him. Someone talked. Someone shared. Slowly, the story of a man who carried a child through a blackout began to spread. One evening, Daniel was called into his supervisor's office. Fear tightened his chest, but instead of bad news, he was met with something unfamiliar: respect. A local news outlet wanted to find him. A small article had been written, not naming him at first, just telling the story of what he had done. When they finally connected his name to it, messages began to arrive. Strangers thanked him. People told him he had restored their faith in humanity. Daniel read those words in disbelief, struggling to accept that his simple choice had meant so much to so many. But the most powerful moment came weeks later, when he received a letter. It was short, handwritten, and uneven, clearly written by someone still learning how to hold a pen. It thanked him for saving a life. It thanked him for being there. Daniel sat at his small kitchen table, tears falling onto the paper, his hands shaking. In that moment, all the years of feeling invisible, all the quiet suffering, all the nights of doubt felt lighter, not erased, but transformed. This story is not about a hero in a cape. It is not about perfection or grand speeches. It is about an ordinary person choosing humanity when it would have been easier to walk away. It is about proof that kindness does not require wealth, fame, or recognition, only courage. Daniel did not change the whole world that night. He changed one life, and in doing so, he changed his own. As you listen to this, remember that moments like these are happening every day, unseen and uncelebrated. Humanity survives not because of headlines, but because of choices made in the dark, by people who think no one will ever know. This story exists to remind you that you are closer to being that person than you realize. Before this story ends, take a moment to comment below and share what this story made you feel. Your words matter more than you think. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the goodness still alive in the world, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to this channel. Your support helps keep stories like this alive, and proves, once again, that humanity is not lost.